How you like me now? I'm here to expose the lies, the schemes, yeah, the power that froze. I'm breaking chains, no silence allowed. Speaking for the people, I'm making you proud. From the streets to the suites, I've been in the fight. Shining through the dark, bringing truth to light. Leadership in action, and the time is ours. Rodney's on the mic, speaking truth to power. Speak on it now, let the truth unfold. Speak on it now, gotta break the mold. From the pain to the purpose, let the voices tower. Rodney W. Collins, speaking truth to power. I've seen the struggle, I've felt the strain, but silence in the face of wrong is the real pain. It's more than a fight, it's the courage to stand and build a better world with this strength of our hands. Leaders and liars, we're calling them out. For the ones without a voice, we're ending the doubt. Every word I speak, every action I take, it's about the truth and justice, no room for fake. Speak on it now, let your voice ignite. Speak on it now, stand up, take flight. From the ground to the towers, let the movement flower. Rodney W. Collins, speaking truth to power. Stand tall, speak loud, let the world take note. Power to the people, every word I quote. This is your moment, the time is here. Rodney's on the mic, making change crystal clear. Speak on it now, time to break the chains. Speak on it now, let the truth remain. From the silence to the spotlight, let the voices shower. Rodney W. Collins is speaking truth to power.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing out there? First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing? I want to say this first before we even get into the show. Thank you for all the support, everybody that tunes in every Saturday morning. As usual, I appreciate you. You got some good mornings already. Sabrina Wooten, good morning. Good morning, cuz. Appreciate you. Thanks for your support. Terrence Collins, my brother. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Brian Hoodie, my brother. Appreciate you. Thank you, everybody out there is listening, that tunes in every Saturday morning. I can't thank you enough. I'm going to continue to say this because without you, this show is not possible. And the information I'm giving out, hopefully is being well received. Some people are going to push back on it. I'm cool with that. At me, do whatever you want to do. I stand on what I speak on because what I speak on is from my experiences and from the way I view things. May not be the same in everybody's eyes, and I'm cool with that. But my view, my show, that's what we do here. Speak on it every Saturday morning. And right now we're broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook, and soon, and I'm trying to figure it out, soon we'll be broadcasting live on TikTok as well. So if you got TikTok, you can watch us there. If you got Facebook, you can watch us there. If you got YouTube, you can watch us there. We're going to be live on all three. I just got to figure out how to do that, Still trying to figure out the fan base app to try to get on there live too. So I'm trying to get live on it, as many platforms as possible. Y'all bear with me. That's what we're doing here on the Speak on It show. So let's send a shout out to all the 2025 graduates. Let's give a shout out to all the 2025 class of 2025 graduates, whether graduated kindergarten, because we celebrate that now, kindergarten all the way up through college, whatever school you may attend, trade school, anything that you've accomplished this year, 2025, we appreciate you. And I want to say this. I am a true proponent, if you listen to this show long enough, I'm a true proponent of celebrating your wins. Celebrate your wins. And I want to say this because I've heard some rumors and some rumblings of people who have, who have children graduating or have reached milestones in their life, and they say that they don't want to walk. They don't want to walk across the stage to receive their diploma and so forth. Let me say this loud and clear. Celebrate your wins. And the reason I say that is because everyone else, and everyone else in your life that you pass in your life, in your travels, as you go through life, will not hesitate to celebrate your losses. What they deem as losses in your life, or the mistakes you may have made, or the decisions you made that they don't agree with, trust and believe they're going to celebrate those loud and clear from the rooftops for everybody to know about when you do something that is not, what they feel should have been done or otherwise. Empower your children. And I want to empower you. Celebrate your wins. Each and every one of them. And I'm going to say this here. Celebrating your wins is not something where you're being braggadocious. You have to think about everything that you poured into you to be able to accomplish the things that you accomplished in this life, no matter what the obstacles, no matter what you had to overcome. Celebrate your wins. Celebrate it. And if you got children that say they ain't gonna walk, sit them down. You can replay this for them if you want. Sit them down. Sit them down and let them know how important it is to celebrate your wins and your victories in this life. See, we hear where people say, give them their flowers while they're here. Give yourself your flowers. Give yourself your flowers. Because if you're waiting on everybody else to give them to you, you may not ever receive them. Give yourself your flowers. Celebrate your wins. Not being braggadocious, not being egotistical. You know what you poured into the accomplishment that you just received. Celebrate that. Because if you're waiting on somebody else to do it, it may not ever come. Celebrate your wins. I want to send it out to all the graduates, class of 2025, because sometimes we get so caught up in where, and I don't know the mindset of the other kids. Maybe they never liked school. I didn't like school either, but I was celebrating that win. Celebrate your wins. No matter what, celebrate your wins, because everybody's going to have an opinion no matter what you do. Celebrate your wins. That's what I'm going to leave y'all with today for the class 2025. Trent Branch, my brother. Good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you. Terry Perkins, Big Perk. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. So we're going to get into this, man. I got some things for y'all this morning. It's going to go into, there's a lot of stuff going on, y'all. Let's just be real, but I want to get into this. We're going to start off with in the news. So without further ado, let's go on and get into this. Let's go. In the news. Let's take a deep breath for a minute. Because there's some things that went on this week that we really need to be focused on rather than being distracted from. Focused on rather than being distracted from. And I want to start off with this. This administration, this president, let's just say what it is. He just don't care. He don't care who you are, what you are. As long as he is at the forefront and able to get his agenda out there, that's all he's worried about. So you've heard me talk about on this show, the Afrikaners that they're letting come here because they're saying there's a genocide and, the white farmers are being killed in Africa. This, excuse me, this man, oh, excuse me, y'all, let me move this camera up a little bit, y'all. Anyway, this administration, this president, person sitting in the Oval Office, had a meeting this week with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. I'm hoping I pronounced that, Ramaphosa. And in the White House, this president, the person serving in this office at this time, let me keep saying that, tried to ambush him with some pictures and videos saying that white Africans, there was a genocide going on in South Africa. The South African president didn't get upset. He debunked. But then, let me get into this and I'm going to tell you where it all flipped for him. So, genocide let me say this. My narrative today on this is going to be, why are we so concerned with South Africa at this time when we have had so many things going on in Africa forever? Congo, Rwanda, all these different things are going on, but some reason, why? Because there's this narrative that white Africans, there's a genocide, that they're not being treated right, that there's racism, so on and so forth. But let me get into this. Genocide, famine, civil wars, these have been constant across Africa for decades. But suddenly, the U.S. is laser focused on South Africa. Why? Because the narrative isn't about black suffering. It's about white farmers. That right there tells you everything you need to know. This is in South Africa, in Africa as a whole, decades of famine, anything you can think of. That we see the pictures when they decide to show them about what's going on in Africa. But it's different when, and as it says, when it's black suffering compared to when it's white farmers, in their view. And you already know when the story shifts like that, there's an agenda behind it. So today we're going to break down the real reasons America is suddenly concerned about South Africa, from my viewpoint. Let me just say from my viewpoint. And why this white genocide claim is nothing but political smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. The white genocide myth debunked. Let's start with the claim itself. Trump recently, as I said, met with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and presented evidence of white farmers being systematically killed. He showed a video of white crosses along a highway claiming they marked burial sites for murdered farmers. But here's the truth. Listen up now. For y'all in the back that don't want to hear it, listen up real closely. Here's the truth. Those crosses were part of a 2020 protest, not mass graves. And the body bags Trump showed, not even in South Africa. They weren't even in South Africa. They were from a violent conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Whoa, wait a minute. Stop right there. Democratic Republic of Congo. We've heard about these things going on, the violent conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo for many, many, many years. I can remember years back just hearing about the Congo. But we never jumped in to do anything. But now this administration, because, as I mentioned, white farmers are losing their land to the people who actually owned the land from the beginning, that it was taken from them during apartheid. Oh, apartheid. You know, that time. You know, when they had Nelson Mandela locked up for all those years, and then he came out and he ended up becoming president of South Africa. Remember apartheid? Another form of slavery, racism, anything you can think of, apartheid in South Africa. But we didn't do anything about that. But we're concerned about the white farmers losing their land to the people who actually own the land. The idea of white genocide has been pushed by far-right groups for years, despite zero evidence supporting it. Farm murders in South Africa account for less than 1% of all homicides. Crime is real, but it's not a racial extermination. Now let's talk about the bigger picture. Why is America suddenly concerned about South Africa when genocide and famine have been constant across the continent? Sudan's civil war, we ain't involved in that. Hundreds of thousands have died, millions displaced. The U.S., barely involved. Ethiopia's Tigray conflict, a brutal war with mass killing, starvation, and war crimes, hardly a blip on America's radar. The Sahel crisis, terrorism, famine, and displacement across Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. No major U.S. intervention. None. No major U.S. intervention. But when white South Africans claim persecution, suddenly America's rolling out refugee status and making diplomatic moves. Now, y'all heard me talk about this on here before. I'm not going to get into it again. About the South Africans coming. Talked about it last week. You see them at Dulles Airport. Being able to come here with no problem. Nobody, no hesitation. Nothing at all. But this false narrative that this person that sits in the Oval Office had the nerve to sit there and try to push back on the South African president. Come on. Knowing that these were lies, knowing that this agenda was to try to put him in a place where he had to answer to it, but he had to answer for him because he deferred to a white person that's on his in his administration from an opposition party that works for him, for the South African administration, and he debunked every lie that was told about South Africans being killed. Now, this is a white South African debunking what this person sitting in the office tried to say. But they don't report on him. They report on what this person said, the lies, the misinformation, and so on and so forth. Brian Hoodie, 7% of South African population is white, but they own 70% of the properties. There it is. And this was all done during apartheid. And what they did when during apartheid, they took all the land. They took all the land that was owned by Africans, real Africans, South Africans, because the Afrikaners are Dutch. Let's be clear. But during apartheid, they took all the land that was owned by the South Africans, gave it to the Afrikaners. And now this president has come in. Y'all heard me say, this president has come in and says, no, we got to fix this. How are you 7% of the population, but own 70-something% of the land, the farmland in this country? Not right. So he's trying to fix that. But now, because Elon Musk was in his ear of this guy in the Oval Office, they decided, let's open it up, let the people come here. What are they going to do here? What are they going to do here? They're going to open farms? The farmers already complaining about what's going on with the tariffs. The real agenda behind Trump's narrative. So why push the false genocide claim? White identity politics. Trump's base thrives on narratives of white victimhood. The idea that white farmers are being targeted fits right into that. You know, when we talk about the browning of America, white fear, it's not only in America. The white fear is not only in America. It's around this world. It's around the world. The browning of the world. As Public Enemy said in one of their albums titled Fear of a Black Planet. That's for another subject, but we'll go there. Foreign policy pressure. South Africa has been critical of U.S. policies, especially regarding Israel and China. This could be a way to push back diplomatically. So because South Africa has been critical of U.S. policies, especially regarding Israel and China, now we're going to push back on South Africa because they don't agree with what we're doing as a country in cahoots with Israel and against China. Refugee policy hypocrisy. Trump has restricted refugee admissions across the board, except for white South Africans. Meanwhile, the black refugees from war-torn African nations face extreme barriers to entry. In March, watch this. In March, the South African ambassador to the U.S., Ebrahim Rasool, remember his name, Ebrahim Rasool, the South African ambassador to the United States, was expelled after American Secretary of State Marco Rubio accused him of being a race-baiting politician who hates President Trump. So at this time, while the South African president sits in office, back in March, this administration expelled the South African ambassador to the United States because they said he was race-baiting, because he voiced the opinion of their administration in South Africa against what was going on and what we're doing here in the United States in support of Israel and those people. The audacity, and I'm going to use the word audacity today because I've never used it on the show. The audacity of this person sitting in this office to tell this South African president what's going on in his country. In his country. The lies that were told about what's going on in his country. And he sat up there in the Oval Office in front of cameras and said these lies. They were debunked by, as I said, one of his opposition party members that was there with him. Debunked everything that Donald Trump said. However, you haven't seen that all over the news. You might see it here and there, but not all over the news. Not like you've seen when he brought up and showing the pictures and showing the videos and all these different things. Why is that? Because our media, let's just go here. Our media is afraid of this person. They feel they're going to get shut down if they don't highlight what he's doing in the right way. In the right way. There is no way, and there should be no way, that our media here in this country should be afraid to speak the truth when the truth is all we're looking for. But rather than do that, they continue to spread misinformation, because if you don't, and this person sitting in this Oval Office, excuse me, I keep catching myself, finds out that you said something wrong, he tries to shut you down. He goes on this tantrum about getting rid of certain people that are speaking against him. Joy Reid, MSNBC folded. Just one example that I can think of off the top of my head. But this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. And this was all in the same time that this so-called big, beautiful, one big, beautiful bill was being pushed through the House. All this is going on at the same time. So they're distracting you with what's going on in South Africa, so you don't really pay attention to what's going on right here and how it's going to affect you right here. This one, what they call the One Big Beautiful Act bill. And I want to get into this because I don't think people really recognize how this is going to impact the everyday American citizen. And I'm going to tell you like this. Some of y'all out there that are pissed about this bill and how it's going to affect you voted for this. You voted for this. This is what you chose to go to the polls and vote for. Josh Boyd, my brother, appreciate you. This is what you voted for. This is what you voted for. So I'm going to start off with some statistics in here. And these are the statistics. Let's go here. So it went in the House. They voted on it. And as you see, Republicans, 215 votes, 2 noes. Democrats, 212 noes. Totals 215 to 214. And I want you to pay attention to this. There was one present, one voted present, and 2 no votes. One voted present, 2 no votes. Now, mind you, if those 3 people, rather than abstaining from voting or not voting at all, would have just voted, this would have never passed. If they would have voted no, let's go there. But the Republicans are saying that they would have voted yes, but they just chose not to vote. And here's the excuses. The only person that voted present was Andy Harris. From where? From where? Maryland. What's going on in Maryland, y'all? I talked about Westmore last week. I'll get into that a little bit later. What's going on in Maryland? He just didn't vote. He just didn't vote. No vote. Well, he said present. Let me say that. No vote. David Schweikert from Arizona and Andrew Garbarino from New York. These are all Republicans, mind you. These 3 people, the present and the no votes, Republicans. Speaker Johnson, House Speaker, said that Garbarino fell asleep. That's why he had a no vote. Said he fell asleep. So he's a no vote. He didn't fall asleep. He ain't fall asleep. He didn't want to put his name on this bill, but he also didn't put his name on the bill twofold. Let's just be honest. First, he didn't want to draw the ire from the person that sits in the Oval Office by voting no. Second, he didn't vote because he wants his constituents to still see him as being in the middle, so he'll get reelected when the time comes around. It don't take a rocket science, but he fell asleep, is what he said. Now, let's ask this question here. When is the last time you slept through a very important thing in your life that you knew you needed to be there because it could be consequences if you didn't vote the right way? Or that your vote or your presence could make a decision on which way the vote goes? How many of you would have slept through that? How many of you would have been worried about the consequences of you not being where you're supposed to be? I'll wait. Now, mind you, this is an elected official for the people. And he said he overslept. He slept through the vote. Schweikert, he waited till the last minute to vote, so his vote didn't count. Didn't say which way he counted, but his vote didn't count because he submitted it too late. Right at the buzzer, then he comes up to drop his vote. So it didn't count. Didn't say whether he was voting yay or nay. See, there's always these ones that try to play the tactical things. Now, I ain't testing their integrity, but I'm testing their integrity. You know what you was doing. You know how important this was. You know who it's going to affect and how it's going to affect, but you chose to act like you was a no vote or voting present. There was only two Republicans that voted against this: Thomas Massey from Kentucky and Warren Davidson from Ohio. Keep an eye on those two names as time goes on. Thomas Massey, Warren Davidson, because I guarantee they're going to get the ire of this president, this person sitting in the Oval Office, about not voting for this so-called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Pay attention. Pay attention as things go. Now, let's get into this. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, a massive tax and spending bill that could reshape the economy, healthcare, and social programs for years to come. But one of the biggest changes is going to be the Affordable Care Act. They don't talk about it, but let's get into it. Millions rely on it for healthcare, but this bill would gut key protections and raise costs for everyday Americans. What's happening? Who's affected? And what can we do? Let's go ahead and get into this. Here we go. What they call now the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the OBBA, is a budget reconciliation bill that passed the House on May 22nd by a razor-thin 215 to 214 vote. It's now under the Senate review where major changes still could happen. Here's what's inside of this bill that's going to affect you and me and everybody that we know. Tax cuts and credits. The bill makes Trump's 2017 tax cuts permanent, costing an estimated $2 trillion over the next decade. It also raises the child tax credit to $2,500 per child until 2028 and temporarily eliminates federal taxes on tips and overtime pay. Temporarily. Medicaid and SNAP cuts, nearly $698 billion slashed from Medicaid. $698 billion slashed from Medicaid, potentially leaving 7.6 million Americans uninsured. SNAP, which is food assistance, faces $267 billion in cuts, shifting more costs to the states. Border and security and immigration. The bill allocates $70 billion for border security, including $50 billion for a border wall. Here we go with the wall again. $50 billion for a border wall, $45 billion for detention centers. $45 billion for detention centers and $14 billion for deportations. Debt ceiling increase. The bill raises the federal debt limit by $4 trillion. $4 trillion, but the Republican Party is the party of fiscal responsibility, so they say. $4 trillion, the national debt is going to increase. Now, let me tell you how this is going to impact the Affordable Care Act. Affordable Care Act subsidies are going to expire. The bill ends enhanced Affordable Care subsidies that were introduced in 2021, meaning premiums could rise by 93% for millions of Americans. 93% premiums with the bill cutting the ACA. Medicaid work requirements. The bill requires Medicaid recipients to work at least 80 hours per month to qualify, starting in 2026. This could lead to millions losing coverage, especially in Black and low-income communities. Hear what I said? Especially in Black and low-income communities. Eligibility redeterminations. States must verify Medicaid eligibility every 6 months, making it harder for people to stay enrolled. So every 6 months, you got to keep going back to enroll. Higher copays for Medicaid recipients. The bill raises copays for medical recipients earning just above the poverty line, making healthcare less accessible. Let's get into Medicaid real quick, because I want to talk about this. Because a lot of people hear Medicaid, and me for one, I didn't really know how Medicaid worked. But Medicaid is a joint federal and state program that provides health coverage to millions of Americans, including low-income adults, children, pregnant women, elderly individuals, and people with disabilities. It is administered by individual states according to federal guidelines, meaning eligibility and benefits can vary depending on where you live. Unlike Medicare, because there's Medicaid, there's Medicare. Unlike Medicare, which primarily serves seniors age 65 and older, Medicaid is designed to assist those with limited income and resources. It covers a wide range of medical services, including hospital stays, doctor visits, nursing home care, and home-based health services. Now, I want to give you all a breakdown of this because I'm getting ready to get into those who are on Medicaid and who this is the majority going to affect by these cuts to Medicaid, not only to include the Affordable Care Act. But let's continue. Here's how Medicaid will change under this bill. Here's how it's going to change. Many Medicaid recipients work in low-wage jobs that often do not provide employer-sponsored health insurance. Here are some common industries and roles where Medicaid recipients are employed. So low-income earners are on Medicaid because a lot of times the employer doesn't provide medical insurance for low-income workers or part-time workers. Let's just be honest. If you work part-time, you may not get benefits, so you have Medicaid that you pay. Here's who it's going to affect. Retail and warehousing. All those people you know work in retail, all those people you work in warehousing. Companies like Amazon and Walmart employ thousands of Medicaid recipients, particularly in warehouse operations, stocking, and cashier roles. Let me stop right there. I want to read that again so you hear me very clear. Companies like Amazon and Walmart employ thousands of Medicaid recipients, particularly in warehouse operations, stocking, and cashier roles. Amazon and Walmart. If I remember correctly, Amazon and Walmart are two of the largest employers in the civilian sector in this country. And most of their employees are on Medicaid. Let that marinate for a minute. I want you to get this. Amazon and Walmart are probably the top two largest employees in the civil sector. I say civil sector because we know the federal government employs most of the people. But the Walmart and Amazon employ most of the people in the civilian sector, largest amount of people in the civilian sector. But at the same time, Walmart and Amazon fall under these tax breaks for millionaires. I don't think y'all heard me. Walmart and Amazon owners, family business owners, generational wealth, hardly pay any taxes on the money they receive that they make off of Amazon and Walmart, and everybody goes to Amazon, everybody goes to Walmart. You can't say you don't. We all do. But the amount of money they make that they don't pay taxes on, but the employees of these companies are the largest proponents of people on Medicaid. Let that marinate. Think about that for a minute. And now, under this bill, the owners of Walmart and Amazon are going to get even bigger tax breaks. But the employees that are on Medicaid are either about to lose their benefits of Medicaid. They're going to have to pay more co-pays under this Medicaid, under this bill, or they're just not going to have any health care. Think about that. And then you have a Congress, the House of Representatives, vote 215 to 214 to pass this bill that helps these people and takes things away from the people that are in need of something. Now, that's just retail and warehousing. Food service. Many Medicaid recipients work as servers, cooks, and fast food employees where wages are low and benefits are limited. Healthcare support. Jobs such as home health aides, nursing assistants, and personal care workers are common among Medicaid recipients. Child care and education. Many daycare workers, teacher assistants, and after-school program staff rely on Medicaid for health care coverage. Hospitality and tourism. Workers in hotels, casinos, and event venues, including housekeepers, front desk clerks, and bartenders, often qualify for Medicaid. And why? Because the people that employ them do not offer health benefits. But the money that I'll just give you a prime example since we're on hospitality and tourism. Think about Las Vegas. A lot of y'all been to Las Vegas before. All the casinos, all the staff that works in those casinos, not only who checks you in, who cleans your room, but the servers, the bartenders, anybody and everybody, the people that park your cars, if you do valet, all the people you can think about for one hotel. Now think about all the hotels in this one vicinity All the resorts in this one vicinity and all the people that work there to keep those operations going, where the owners of those casinos are getting a tax break. But a lot of these employees are going to lose their Medicaid. 215 to 214. Gig and contract worker. Many rideshare drivers, Uber, Lyft, delivery workers, and freelance contractors do not receive employee-sponsored insurance and rely on Medicaid. Security and maintenance. Jobs such as security guards, janitors, and building maintenance workers are common among Medicaid recipients. These industries tend to have low wages, inconsistent hours, and limited benefits, making Medicaid a crucial safety net for workers who might otherwise struggle to afford health care. Now, who's most affected? Medicaid work requirements, a policy buried in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the OBBA, that could change the way millions access health care. We'll explore. Let's go into it. What are Medicaid work requirements? Medicaid work requirements sound simple. If you're able-bodied, you must work at least 80 hours per month to stay enrolled. But here's the thing. Many Medicaid recipients already work, and those who don't often face real barriers like disabilities, caregiving duties, or inconsistent job opportunities. These requirements are set to take effect in 2026, making millions of Americans, especially part-time and gig workers, prove their employment status regularly to keep their coverage. People with low-wage jobs, gig and contract workers, as I said, Black and minority workers. Now let's get into this. 30% of Black adults are on Medicare. 30% of African-American Black adults are on Medicaid. On Medicaid are caregivers, students, or have health conditions to prevent full-time work. Medicaid cuts disproportionately affect Black communities who rely on the program at higher rates than white Americans. We know this. This is a never-ending story. Here's an example. When Arkansas introduced Medicaid work requirements in 2018, 18,000 people lost coverage. Arkansas implemented Medicaid work requirements. 18,000 people lost coverage. Not because they didn't work, but because of confusing reporting rules on how they're supposed to report, how they're supposed to get their claims in, those type of things. Many workers simply failed to submit paperwork on time, even though they met the requirements. They met the requirements, they didn't know how to go about submitting the paperwork. I'm going to leave it at that. The impact on Black Americans, African Americans, is huge. Healthcare disparities. Medicaid costs could leave millions of Black families uninsured, worsening health outcomes. Economic struggles, cuts to food assistance and housing protections could widen racial wealth gaps. 20% of Black households have faced food insecurity in recent years compared to 7% of white households. 20% of Black households, 7% of white households face food insecurity in recent years. State level impact. States with high Affordable Care Act enrollment like Florida, Georgia, and Texas could see millions lose coverage due to subsidy cuts. Florida, Georgia, and Texas could see millions lose coverage. Millions of people. 215 to 214. This brings to mind a song by Michael Jackson. All I really know is they don't really care about us. So while the news is concentrated on the Oval Office, South Africa, supposed genocide, this is what was happening. Now, mind you, all Democrats that were present voted no. Pay attention. Pay attention. Pay close attention to the things that are going on. Don't let them distract you with one thing while they're doing something else. Do not let them distract you from one thing while they're doing something. Yeah. I'm going to leave that behind. I'm going to leave that alone. We got more to talk about with that. We'll get into it. But I really want to talk about this. And then I got something for my straight talk segment. But I want to talk about this real quick. Do any of y'all know who this is? Do y'all know who this is? This is the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson. He's the mayor of Chicago. And the Department of Justice is investigating him. Why, you ask? Let's go here. The Department of Justice Office of Civil Rights announced it opened a probe into Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson after he touted his majority black staff during a church service. Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, is being investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice of Civil Rights after he made remarks boasting about the hiring of black people in his administration. Let me say this again. I want y'all to hear this real clear now. Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, is being investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Civil Rights after he made remarks boasting about the hiring of black people in his administration. Assistant Attorney General Harriet DeLeon, who was nominated to the position by President Donald Trump, announced a probe in a letter. In it, she revealed that her office is investigating whether Mayor Johnson's employment practices are discriminatory based on race in violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The probe was launched after Johnson's remarks on Sunday at the Apostolic Church of God, in which he highlighted that staff in key roles within his administration, including his chief operations officer, budget director, and others, were black. According to NBC News, Johnson pointed out the race of some of his staff to make a point about detractors who criticize the fact that he is hiring all black people. Hold up once. Wait a minute. I got something I got to say about this. So they're investigating him because the civil rights section of the Department of Justice. Trim Branch, my brother, you can't make this stuff up. No, you can't. No, you can't. You really can't. So this mayor in a church, while speaking, brought up the fact that he has African American black people on his staff. And because he said that, they're investigating him about his hiring practices because he's hiring black people, because there's been pushback saying he's hiring a lot of staff that are black and he's only hiring them because he's black. I wanted to bring this up because I've been a victim of this before. And it hit home with me. As a manager, I've hired many people in my lifetime. And I will say, and I will stand on the fact that I have never hired somebody simply because of their skin tone. I have never hired anybody simply because my association with them or with the association of somebody else. Never have, never will. And I'm going to get into why I won't. But for this to come up for a mayor, when we have seen this administration fire qualified African American black people in government consistently, not because they're not qualified, just because of the skin tone, and then hire people simply because their loyalty to and who they are as white men and white women. And they're investigating the mayor. Now, let me get back to my story. As a victim of this, when I do interviews, I read resumes. I have other people review the resumes, give me their input, rank them accordingly. I never see or know the person until they walk in the door for the interview. Never. I interview people and have hired people strictly because they're qualified for the job. I've even had it where people will come back later on and say, why'd you hire that person? I said, because the person's resume fit the description of what we needed, and the person was qualified to do what we need to do. Now that the person's here, that probation is the reason why we have it. If the person is not fulfilling the needs, because you can put anything on a resume. You can put anything on a resume. But if you can't perform the job when you get in there, then we got to talk. But I'm not going to stop you from gaining employment strictly because I'm only going to hire black people. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. Now, a lot of people say, well, you got to take care of us. Yeah, you got to take care of us, but I'm not going to jeopardize my integrity just because you look like me. That's where it comes in for me. Am I going to try to do everything I can to help a brother or a sister out that comes in for a job? Hell yeah, we all should. But I'm not going to lose my integrity or jeopardize my integrity just because. Never going to happen. Never did happen. Ain't going to happen. But for the DOJ to be investigating him for the lack of integrity that this administration has had through this whole process of putting people in positions in this cabinet, come on. According to NBC News, Johnson pointed out the race of some of his staff to make a point about detractors who criticize the fact that he is hiring all the black people. The mayor explained, when you hire people, we always look out for everybody else, he added. Having people in my administration that will look out for the interests of everyone, and everyone means you have to look out for the interests of black folks because that hasn't happened. That's how we ensure long-term sustainability and growth. Let me bring up another point that I've had to deal with. I've had it where I've been accused of hiring only African-American black people. I've also been in a situation where I was a manager over a majority African-American black workforce. Now, here's the difference, and I'll say it this way. These things only become recognizable when people want them to be recognizable. When you're in a position that oversees a service industry type environment, they don't care what the color of the workforce is, as long as they're doing their job. Case in point, if you have a majority of African-American black workforce that is providing a service to a certain demographic, it's not a problem. There's no questions about whether you're only hiring black folks or African-American folks, or however you want to put it. There's no question when they're providing a service for a certain demographic on a daily basis. However, if you're a manager over a position of employees that have an impact on something that's going on, case in point, the mayor and putting out legislation, and we're in those positions, oh no. Now you're in a different ballgame. You're in a different ballgame because you're going to make decisions that they think are going to impact the people that don't look like you. I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't know this man. But questioning his integrity, I have a problem with. Because they don't know this man. He just made a statement and they ran with it. Which is normal. Wow. Yeah. That's how it goes, y'all. That's how it goes. We'll keep an eye on this. I'll keep you posted on how this investigation goes out. I mean, will they be able to find anything? I highly doubt it, because as long as he has his ducks lined up in a row and can show that he hired these people specifically because of their qualifications, he's okay. He should be okay. And that's one thing that I'll tell you out there, anybody from my experience, CYA. Cover your, yeah. keep records, keep files, keep everything you do through that process of hiring somebody. And it is not only because if you hire someone Black or African-American and you're Black and African-American, there's going to be an investigation. You want to keep everything on file. So if they do ever come back saying, why did you hire these people? You can lay it out. You can lay out that these are the people that were on the panel. These are the notes that we took. These are the resumes that were submitted. This is why we made this decision. It's not hard. But if they can find a crack in anything that you do, they're going to look for it. They're going to look for it. Just the way it is. Just the way it is. Let's go. Straight talk, straight talk. Let's get into this. So this week, we celebrated Malcolm X's birthday. 100 years old. 100 years old. Would have been. So I found this article that made me really think about the Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther King Jr., I just lost his name. But I'll get it. But this article by Lawrence Ware talks about how Black America can survive these scary times despite having no leaders to help us. How Black America can survive these scary times despite having no Black leaders to help us. Now, I won't say that we don't have any Black leaders to help us because, depending on who you are, depending on how you stand, depending on who you are as a pillar in your community, you could be viewed as a leader. So I don't think we don't have any Black leaders. I think what we don't have is just one that stands out amongst the many, which is not what we need. We need everybody to be out there leading in the way you know how to lead. It says there's an entire generation of Black kids who are not ready to lead Black people. We need to change that. May 19th would have been the 100th birthday of El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, the man best known as Malcolm X. As such, Black folks have reflected on the man and his legacy by going to social media and posting his picture or a favorite quote. In these fraught days, one point stands out. A speech that Malcolm delivered to young people in Mississippi in 1964. One of the first things I think young people, especially nowadays, should learn is how to see for yourself and listen for yourself and think for yourself. Then you can come to an intelligent decision for yourself. In this speech, Malcolm is talking to young people because throughout his life, he had a passion for educating young Black men and women. He understood that it would be their job to continue to fight against white supremacy after he was gone. If he could look at what is happening today, there is no doubt that Malcolm would feel deep disappointment, not with the current generation, but instead with those of us who have raised them. Listen to this now. There's an entire generation of Black kids who have not been raised to be proud of their culture. Many Black parents were so focused on giving their children a better life that they forgot to teach them Black pride. What's worse is that there are no Black leaders for these kids to look up to. Malcolm and Martin Luther King Jr., so all we have left are Black politicians who are often disingenuous and merely giving talking points that they hope will help further their career. Then there are those Black celebrities who talk a good game but can't be trusted. We need genuine Black leaders now more than we have in decades, not politicians who will put on a good show, but people who deeply love Black folks and are willing to boldly and fearlessly tell the truth about what is happening to our community. There is no small task. It will not bring you fame and fortune. It will not get you elected. In fact, it might get you killed. Blackness is under assault. Those who have vowed to protect and serve are killing us in the streets with impunity. If you look at what is at the top of the Billboard charts, it is clear that America loves Black culture, but it feels like this country despises Black people. We need to teach our kids to be proud of Black culture, to take pride in the things our people have been through and overcome. We must teach them to not blindly seek fame or fortune, but to work for the betterment of all people whose skin is kissed by the sun. Let the memory of Malcolm X remind us to teach this next generation their history, because if we don't do it, no one will. Now, I agree with a lot of this, with a lot of it. When he talks about the politicians and being disingenuous, I get it. I get it. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to put them all in a bucket, but there's a lot. There's a lot. When he talks about us and the way we've raised our kids to not be proud of who they are as African-American blacks in this country, I agree. I agree to the point of where we, and I'm going to say we, our generation, have worked so hard to get ourselves out of, whether it's poverty or whether it's government assistance or whatever we felt the need to get away from to show that we're worthy. What did it cost us? And I want to say it this way. What did it cost us? Because what we had to realize is you may not have lost your pride per se as being black, but what have you lost along the way? Because of the search and the striving to be financially secure. See, if you think about it, if you really think about it, our parents were financially secure because they made do with what they had. They didn't need the six-figure income to provide. Now, mind you, I don't want anybody to jump at me. It was a different time. You know, the cost of living and everything was a lot different. I get that. But us, our generation was striving for the six-figure payday. Our generation was striving for equality in a different way. See, when we were able to sit at the table, per se, that we felt we were invited to, per se, we kind of let our guards down. Because now we felt, because we were sitting at the table, that there was some type of way that we were looked at as equal. But we weren't. And it all comes into play because when they talk about black leaders, I think we're still in this mindset of searching for the Malcolm X or the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. somewhere in our community, on TV, somewhere. We want somebody to step out and be, that's the one. But I'll say it this way. Each of you is the one. We can't rely on somebody else's father or somebody else's mother to step up and pour black pride into our children. It should happen in our homes from the start. It's not anybody else's responsibility to put that pride in our children to let them know they can be anything they want, but also remember who they are. Not whitewash the fact that they're black, not overlook the fact that they're black, but be proud in the fact that their melanin content makes them stand out no matter what obstacles may come in their way. But because we don't have the Malcolm X or the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in our lives right now, a lot of us have fell by the wayside. And I'm not saying this to tear anybody down. I want you to think about this in a perspective of what do we need to do going forward? Because you see the writing on the wall of this white supremacist movement in this country that's trying to wash us out no matter how, by any means necessary. Malcolm. But what we have to do is step back and ask ourselves, what part can I play in this? Why am I waiting for the next leader when I can become that leader? Are we scared? Do we not want the responsibility? Are we scared to speak out because we're worried about the consequences that may come along with it? I want you to think about this. There's been many people who have stepped up to speak out whose lives have been threatened. But that didn't deter them from speaking truth to power. That didn't stop them from speaking truth to when they see inequality done in this country. But one of the things that happens to us is we're this generation that looks at it, well, it ain't affecting me. And I said it that way. It ain't affecting me. So it's not my monkey, it's not my circus. but it's not affecting you per se, but it's affecting someone you may have grown up with who's not making that six-figure income. It's affecting someone you may work with that's not having that six-figure income or having that six-bedroom house or anything you can think of that shows that you have made it up the scale. Most of us grew up in sharing bedrooms with our siblings. Tell me if your kids grew up sharing a bedroom with their kids. Our generation. If you have more than one child, did your kids share a bedroom? Our goal was to always say, I don't want my kids to have to struggle or have to want for anything like I had to. But you didn't want for anything. You didn't want for anything. That's a misperception in your mind that we were struggling, we were hurting, you had everything you needed at the time you needed it. But now we give our kids so much monetarily, visually, living wise. But you know what we don't give them? We don't give them enough pride in themselves to understand what's going on around them right now. And you know why? Because we dropped the ball. We can sit all day long and talk about the struggles and the fights and everything that our ancestors dealt with to get us here and how thankful we are. And we're glad that yeah, we're thankful. But we forgot. We forgot. And the reason we forgot is because we're waiting. We're still waiting for the next Malcolm X, the next Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Stop waiting. Stop waiting. Be him. Be her. See, I think we're searching for something that is in us. It's already there. It's already there. Stop being scared of what you're going to lose and start thinking about what you're going to gain by speaking out, by standing on principle, by standing on the fact of knowing, yes, I am a Black African-American in this country. Yes, I have been prejudiced against. Yes, I've been discriminated against. Yes, I've been held back in certain situations, but I've made it. And because I've made it and I'm making this six-figure income, or I got the big house, or I got the BMWs in the driveway, or the Mercedes in the driveway, and all these different things, or I got the designer clothes with the name plastered on the front, I've made it. No. You haven't made it. You haven't made it. What you've done is you've masked it. And when I say you've masked it, what I'm saying is you have taken all these things that you've allowed to cover up how proud you are of being Black. So we use these things as a facade, because if I could pull up into my neighborhood and my white neighbors see me in my new car, or my white neighbors see that my house has an extra bedroom compared to theirs, that's not pride. That's not pride in who you are. That's pride in what you have. Think about that. And everything that we've done, that we've showed, that the chasing of these things, while we were chasing things, and our kids seen us chasing these things, we've lost focus of our pride. We've lost focus. Say it loud. I'm Black and I'm proud. Can two things be true at the same time? Yes, they can. But eventually, one's going to outshine the other. And in most cases, I'm not saying everybody, but in most cases, as your wealth your standing in your community as far as what you have, any of those things, as they rise to the top and people recognize how much money you have, or that you a six-figure, you got this big house and all these different things, you can think about the material things. As that rises, your black pride decreases. Not because you choose it to, just because you want those things that you have to shine and the pride to be an afterthought. And as we always have heard, our children see who we are and what we're about. And they will follow our lead, which lets us know why we don't have black leaders right now. And the fact that everybody's waiting on that one. Everybody's waiting on that one. It's just one of those things, y'all. One of those things. Let your pride shine. Let your pride shine. Let it shine loud. Let it shine bright like a diamond. Let it shine bright like a diamond. We're going to do the mind, body, and soul real quick. I want to give y'all this today, so let's go. Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul is the year 2025. Oof. We 5 months in, y'all. Almost about to be June. But then 2025 is the 3 Ps. Purpose, power, possibility. The 3 Ps. Purpose, power, possibility. Today's mind, body, and soul is a phrase that I think we've all heard before. And it says, at this time, and this is especially relevant for this time, even though I just talked about the leaders and all that kind of stuff and how we need leaders, take that with you. But this here, with everything that's going on, I want you to think about this. Keep your hands on the plow. Keep your hands on the plow. First time I ever heard this, my buddy said it to me. Pastor Jerry Page, shout out my brother, Pastor Jerry Page. He was talking about my show, and he said, brother, keep your hands on the plow. And I got it, but I didn't get it. But I want you to understand that when we say, or when someone says to you, keep your hands on the plow, that means don't give up. Keep pushing forward. Don't get off track, because see, when you're plowing a field, you got to keep that thing steady. Take your hands off, it can go any kind of way. Or if you don't keep it steady, it can go to the left, it can go to the right. You get the quicker lines of keep your hands on the plow. So how do we equate that to life? Let's get into it. There comes a time in every journey when quitting feels easier than continuing. When the ground is dry, the sun is hot, and the roads ahead seem endless. It is in those moments that the call comes, not from outside, but from deep within. That glow represents your purpose, your mission, the promise you made to yourself or maybe to God, that no matter how rough the soil, you would keep moving forward. The plow doesn't move unless you push. The ground doesn't shift unless you're willing to dig deep. You will face distractions, people calling your name from the sidelines, old comforts whispering that it's okay to stop. You may feel tired, overwhelmed, uncertain, but let me remind you, looking back only delays the harvest. Let me say that. Looking back only delays the harvest. If you take your hands off the plow, the work stops, and with it, so does the progress. Progress doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes it looks like showing up. Sometimes it looks like tears in your eyes and dirt on your hands, but strength in your grip. Sometimes it's one stubborn step forward when the world tells you to turn around. But remember this: no seed ever sprouted without struggle. No field ever yielded fruit without sweat. So if you're wondering whether it's worth it, yes, it is. If you're doubting whether you're strong enough, yes, you are. And if you're tempted to let go, don't. Keep your hands on that plow. Because breakthrough lives on the other side of consistency. The reward isn't just in the harvest, it's in becoming who you were meant to be, row by row, step by step, season by season. So plant your feet, tighten your grip, wipe the sweat, but never wipe the vision. Plant your feet, tighten your grip, wipe the sweat, but never wipe the vision. Keep your hands on the plow and don't look back. I want to give that to y'all today because there's times in life where we feel, and you've heard me say it before, that our work is in vain, or that, why am I doing this? I'm not going to succeed. It's a work in futility. All the negatives we can come up with when we get to a certain point in trying to do something that we feel in our heart that we want to do. Don't lose focus of the purpose of your mission. Don't lose focus of the journey, where you've been, where you're at, where you're going. Where you've been, where you're at, where you're going. Because where you've been, your hands were on the plow. Where you're at, you're keeping your hands on the plow. Where you're going, you got to keep your hands on the plow in order to get there. The vision may be blurry. The vision may be blurry sometimes because it seems so far away. But you know what you're working for. You know what you're pushing for. Don't lose sight of that. Don't give up on something that you feel is your purpose in this life. When I talked about leaders, and I say it's in each of us, I say that because most of us, you lead at your job, you lead in your home. There's people who call you because they like the way that you lead. Friends, family. It's not that we aren't true leaders and we don't have the leader gene in us. Sometimes it seems as though we just want to lead when it's convenient to lead. Leadership is all about leading when it's tough, leading when it's not easy, leading when you can't, you see the vision, but you know it's going to take some work to get there. That's what leading's about. And there's no way that you're going to be able to lead anybody, let alone yourself, if you don't keep your hands on the plow. It may not happen tomorrow, may not happen next week. Keep your hands on the plow, because every step forward, while you're pushing that plow, every step forward is progress. And every day you make progress, now you start having consistency because you're seeing the progress. And out of consistency, from that progress, your vision will come to reality as long as you keep your hand on the plow. Don't give up. No matter what's going on, all these different things we talk about on this show each Saturday morning, don't give up. No matter how bad it may look or you may lose this, don't give up. You didn't come this far. It's only come this far. Bigger things are coming. Keep your hand on the plow. You'll reap what you sow in a good harvest. I appreciate everybody tuning in today. Look, I'll be back again next week, of course. Same bat time, same bat channel, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, here on the Rodney W. Collins channel on YouTube, Facebook, and soon to be on TikTok. Keep following me, keep liking, sharing, subscribing, and I'm going to keep giving you information. Next week, we'll get back away from some of this politics and get back into the real world of what's going on with us as a people or individually, what we need to do with, with the helping of the life coaching and stuff like that. But I want to leave you with this. Everyone talks about happiness. I just want to be happy, right? And I want to leave you with this thought for the week. I just want to be happy. Happiness is defined by you. Happiness is defined by you. Not everybody else, but it's defined by you. And I'm going to leave you with this quote. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. And that's a quote by the Dalai Lama. Take that with you this week. Define your own happiness. And if you define your own happiness, there's not any way anybody in this world can make you unhappy. Define your own happiness, and there's no way anyone in this world can make you unhappy. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all again. I'll be back again next week. And as I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. Keep your faith in God. I'll see y'all again next week, and I'm out. I love y'all. Peace.